How's everybody doing? This is Joel Lopez. I wanted to catch you on this Thursday afternoon, lunchtime, on 4 ways church leaders can turn vision into real lasting change. Now, while it's talking about church, I think it's going to be applied to anything, but I've been on this church organizational development kick recently, and just want to ride that wave. Listen, this is from a service called Breeze. It's a church management service. Think of it as keeping track of church members and ministry leaders and those kind of things. Great service. We're using it at my dad's church, and we haven't been taking full advantage of it yet. It's been kind of busy, but definitely a promising service. And we pay for this, but if you're looking for a free version, if you're an official church that's a nonprofit, 501c3, you can actually sign up for Salesforce for nonprofits and get that amazing service for free. The reason why we didn't sign up for it is because Salesforce can be, has a lot of bells and whistles, and setting it up might be more involved than the average user. I'm sure I'd be able to do it as well, but I just wanted something that's already pre-configured for church and churches, because I know eventually as I set this up and put the reports in and tools in and all those things, I want to be able to hand it off and not have to I want to shorten the learning curve for the volunteer who's going to be I'm handing this off to. So check them out, Breeze. All right, that was a free commercial for them. Now to the actual content. 4 ways church leaders can turn vision into lasting change. Here's the if you want a summary of where you want to take a ministry or your church, it's really this great demonstration of here to there. Do you identify a there? Is there an actual point or milestone where you can say, man, we're here now. Now we need a new vision. If you can't really identify that, then that's a big part of the problem. So you got to say it. You got to remind people of it, and you got to repeat yourself and say it in different ways and have a trickle down effect, and from the top of the team leaders down to the ministry volunteers who are running things. You need to say it often and keep it going. So that's the first one. There it is. Show it. Now this is the part that can get kind of frustrating, especially when you're trying to be a church that's pivoting into a new place or a new direction. Man, it is just, we're such creatures of habit that we can't change as easily as we would like. Even the people who are most eager for a new change can get stuck on old patterns of thinking, old habits and traditions, and those kind of things. And it's not even about the stereotypical thing of that person who's been there for years and they just like it this way. We've always done it that way. It's so easy to demonize them. I'm talking about individuals who really get stuck on small things, basic things, and feel they start attaching, a certain level of value that's not really there. The people like this, so we got to do it this way, versus, actually that you like it and you think they like it. So when you're talking about the change is positive, you got to show it. But if it's not, you got to confront it. And that's probably the hardest part. These are just, same thing, just different sides of the coin, where by demonstrating it, you visualize it, people get to see it, they get to latch onto it. That's the best way to do it. There's something called appreciative inquiry, where one of the models is that you actually you might have to go outside your church to witness this. And show and demonstrate. I remember one time we went to my dad's church. Actually, I took my dad to another church that was somewhat nearby, and we were just auditing. We were just taking, not in that sense of a corporate sense, but just we're just wanted to go and enjoy another church and just see how they did things differently. And there are other things that we like. We wrote down the things that we like. We wrote down the things that we weren't really crazy about, and then we said, hey, actually there's 1 or 2 things we want to implement. And so if it's not known in your church or in your organization what it looks like, you might have to go outside and go to other places and bring your team over. Go somewhere, do something, and then have a lunch discussion about it. Open-ended, no meeting, no agenda, just a discussion, and talk it through and kind of pinpoint what did you like, what can be transferable. So there it is. That's not it, and confront it. Man, this is such a part that kind of tough, because man, church leaders, we suck at confrontation. There's been for being supposedly, people of God, man, there's so many church splits that occur because we just can't talk to each other about conflict. We can't disagree. I mean, it's like we're on the same team, but man, are there cliques that come from just disagreements. And a majority, I would say 80 to 90% of the disagreements stem from preference. That you put as gospel. And if you attack someone's preference, or you kind of diminish it, or say it's not valuable as you think it is, man, there's a lot of heat that comes from that. And last but not least, perseverance, sticking with it. There's another thing that gets kind of annoying. Studying sociology, which has a tinge of psychology in there, and just human behavior and human experience and history, it shows that we just have a propensity to have like a flash of inspiration and then ride that wave, and then boom, it dies out. Whereas perseverance is something that you really have to be intentional about. And that's a part that I think is another thing that really throws church leaders off, because how do you define perseverance with which can turn into or feel like or look like legalism? Like this is I don't want to go too churchy or the lingo here, but man, there's some people that confuse perseverance with legalism. Can I just drop that on you real quick? Like being honorable with your plan and your strategy and being committed to that, it means that you're being disciplined, a disciple, if you will. You are being consistent. You're not being, caught up by the waves or the drift from the waters. Like you're going in a direction. And that's not easy. And that gets annoying, especially if you are the person or there's someone else on the team that has to steer it right back when the conversations go too far in the meetings, or when the ideas when everyone gets all pumped up, and then you look like the bad guy because it looks like you shot it down because it's not within the strategies, not within the plan that you committed to. And someone might feel like, oh my gosh, well, the Spirit of God, I think God wants us to go this direction. Well, what was this whole thing about the first 6 months of the year about? Why are we shifting already? And it really converges on this. Have you and your team saturated your plan in prayer? Have you offered it to God first and say, hey, this is what we think you're telling us to go into. This is the direction that we think you want us to go into. But we're not sure. Tell us where you want to go. And sit and wait on that plan. And I mean, we're experimenting with this in my dad's church, where we have some of the team leaders and the board members. We're just having conversations and prayer. 1 week we have the conversation, we pray. Then the off week we're praying individually about what we talked about, the things that resonated with us, the things that caused some tension in the group, and we're praying about that. And we've walked away with something that's really solid in terms of like a core element that we want to bring back to the church. In terms of I'll let you know what it is. It's cell groups. We want to go back to cell groups, and that's something that's been really been penetrating those conversations. And we can see, looking back, that those conversations were steered in that way almost. They just kept on bubbling up. That theme kept on bubbling up. Relational, in the community, that's decentralized in the sense of we're not meeting up every day of the week at the church. We want to have pockets of believers meeting up intentionally in different areas, in houses and apartments and in public spaces. And so, we talked about these things. And then we prayed about it for a while. And then we come to a point like, yeah, I think this is definitely where we're going to go. But if you're shooting from the hip, if the pastor is getting inspired and he's shooting from the hip about the strategy, that's not cool. That thing has to be like bathed in prayer and really thought through and be intentional about it, man. And I find that a lot of times we just don't have that grit of staying the course. We don't have that grit because it's unpopular and it looks like legalism sometimes if we say we gotta stick to the path, and that goes back to your philosophy of ministry and your theology. How do you think God communicates to the people? How far does shared consensus goes in your book? Or is it really the pastor sets the compass and the church just goes along with it? Is there checks or balances in that? Is there a board that's chiming in on that too, that you can bounce that off of? So that's something when it comes to perseverance. I think I wanted to hit on that a little longer because it's a big thing. Confusing legalism and perseverance is a big issue in the church group, because on the flip side we have church leaders and elders who look at they disguise their legalism with perseverance, and that the flip side is just as terrible, because they don't want to entertain the possibility that they were wrong about something, or they didn't hear God completely, or that they have to reorient their whole plan, and then they're resting on their plan, and not really kind of fine-tune the direction of the church as time goes on. Because I do believe that those things happen, like pivots sometimes have to happen and things come up for sure, but by and large there has to be some type of cohesion, a coherence with where you see the church going at a macro level. So those are the four things that they talking about, how you turn vision into lasting real change. And it's not easy for sure, but I think there's a great, simple, clear-cut way to kind of start that conversation. Point it out. Point when it's not that. Confront it. I like that they put that. Confront the fact when it's not the case and it's in alignment with the vision, and then persevere with sticking it through. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope this helps. Share it with any friends or family who are in the midst of reorganizing, restructuring, because I think this is a big part of having it done in a successful way. Catch you guys later. See ya.